Assassin's Creed Shadows. Ubisoft takes the AC franchise to feudal Japan for a Samurai and Shinobi adventure. The gameplay on screen is my own, paired with some B-roll provided by Ubisoft. I played around 2 hours of AC Shadows at a preview event. Is it good, bad? Should you be excited about it? Stay locked in to find out more.
What's over there?
2 delays later, and Ubisoft are confident and ready to get Assassin's Creed Shadows in press and creators' hands. It was delayed due to polish. Since they want to get this right, they need to get this right. And I really liked what I saw and played, but I left the session still unsure. I see the potential, but I didn't love it. I couldn't love it, but that is because the preview section was a little too constrained, limited, and without context to really dive deep into the game's combat, systems, characters, and exploration. And I think other previews would say the same. Review time will let me know for sure, but I think Ubisoft might just have a hit on their hands. I'm gonna keep this preview fast, lo-fi, and try to cram in as much footage as I can just so that you can see it. My name is Durrani of 100% Crit. Let's start with our dual protagonists, Yasuke and Naoe. I'm very interested in learning more about their stories. It starts off with feudal Lord Oda Nobunaga seeing Yasuke as something shiny and to be possessed, curious of the potential and warrior within him, but they don't hold back in the matter of how he came about to work for Nobunaga. It's all very serious subject matters that the writers respect. And speaking of writers, it's worth noting that the tone of all of the writing from the quest that we played was very serious and dramatic, which is a good sign, and I think they chose the right tone. Yasuke is big, a gentle giant. He literally runs through solid wood doors, a one-man army that we later find out that Nobunaga is proud to have by his side, and his playstyle reflects that, which I'll get into soon. But the differences between the 2 playable characters did surprise me. Naoe, on the other hand, is a faithful student looking for guidance from her masters and father. She's small and nimble, but mighty nonetheless. Something I won't spoil happens, and off she goes on her adventure, later running into Yasuke, and their stories become one, but for different purposes. One thing that I noticed is that they're both savage with weapons in hand, of course, but are incredibly polite, sophisticated, and have this, to their own right, masculine and feminine charm to them. They are both lovers of art, it seems, and that is shown with one of the side activities where you draw wildlife, but I'm eager to find out more about who they are. I'll skip over the context of the storyline that we played, but speak about the structure. It is a familiar structure for open world games, but with plenty breaks in between for more story, of course, to swap character, do side quests, and so on. But you know the usual, go here, do that, but there's more emphasis on the detective and sleuth side of things. So you'd get to an objective and figure out the approach on your own. So there's more player choice. More player choice is a big theme throughout the game, it seems. Savage with weapons in hand, let's talk combat. This is definitely the smoothest Assassin's Creed's combat has ever been. There is still an air of Ubisoft jank to it, but the combat feels more intimate because of the closer camera angles, and also more deliberate since they've upped the challenge. It felt good. The mixture of tap and charge attacks flow well, and if you're playing on controller, you'll feel exactly when you should release charge attacks with some solid haptic feedback. There are combo timings that I didn't manage to figure out in the time that I had, but it all looks so stylish and has weight behind it. And when it's mixed in with the fancy abilities that you can get on each weapon, which by the way add a lot of flair to the game with the paintbrush effect, it all looked pretty flashy on screen. I'm with it. I like that a lot. I do like it. The abilities also have utility to complement your playstyle. It's not just more damage. You gain the resource to cast abilities by defeating enemies, perfect parries, and so on. Parrying and dodging is crucial here, by the way. Do it right and enemies get opened up to take more damage. That is what the glowing orange that you see on the enemies is. The key thing in Assassin's Creed Shadows is that you have options. Yasuke is stand and fight. He can take more damage, deal more damage, and if you're confident in your skills, you can use him to take the more direct approach on missions. But the trade-off is that you are a walking tank, can barely parkour, and it is absolutely hilarious watching him struggle and move so slow with basic climbs. Yasuke is also the newer experience as you play, but Naoe is more akin to what most have always known from Assassin's Creed. Dispatch enemies from the shadows, sneak around, reposition, and use your parkour to turn the environment into a playground as you thin the herd before making your final strike out in the open. There is such a nice freedom as you play as Naoe. Dipping in and out of combat felt so good. The flow is sensational, and that's without me understanding the finer mechanics of the game, so I'm looking forward to seeing what it looks like when players master the parkour and weave it in and out of combat. It's player choice how you approach. You can only swap characters outside of a mission or objective, or if you're in the open world, outside of combat. So it does sort of feel like you're gambling on what style of encounter you're going to face, because some encounters are clearly suited to Yasuke or Naoe. The leveling and progression of Yasuke Yasuke and Naoe is also separate, so you have even more choice on what sort of samurai or shinobi you want to be. With a seemingly large selection of weapons, armor, abilities, skill trees, you know, the typical RPG stuff. Saying all that though, overall, the combat feels like I've been here before, and that's one of the main reasons I said at the start why I left the preview a little unsure. Other action games do this style of combat well, but it feels like Assassin's Creed is finally meeting those games at the standard for modern video game combat. I hope in the full game there's plenty of unique things to unlock that takes the combat to 11 to really make AC Shadows stand out. Rapid fire, some other things that I'd like to add about the combat. The brutality has been scaled up, heads and limbs flying off. The AI is smarter, not the smartest, but much improved from the encounters that I played. Not so much as you're stealthing, but head to head, they're way more proactive against you. Something that I'm happy about is that the gear seems to have perks that actually make a difference. One of my biggest gripes with Star Wars Outlaws or AC Mirage was that 95% of the gear was completely useless. Next, I mentioned challenged earlier, and in the preview, we were the same level as the enemies we were facing, and some of those foes were fierce, which I did not expect at all. I asked the guy who was conducting our play session if it was intentional, and he said that he had a hard time when he'd done the demo for himself. The other participants, they were having a rough time as well, but that's because there's more gameplay options in combat to juggle and you can't just mindlessly play, which is a good thing. The second reason I left the preview unsure, and I hope this goes without saying, is that this is nowhere near the full picture. 2 hours split between two different sections of a game that story alone is 30 to 60 hours long isn't much to go on, especially for an open world action RPG. There's a housing system where you can craft, assign workers that can help you explore in combat, that can build you more stuff that directly affect the game. The exploration style has been changed from the usual Ubisoft clear the map of 1,000,000 icons. The progression systems, gear, side content, the season systems and main story beats are big parts of the game that we didn't get to engage with. And with any game, I've spoken about combat a lot here, but combat alone isn't what makes a game good. We know this. Additionally, Assassin's Creed Shadows is the first next generation AC game. There's stuff to be excited about here. Mirage was held back a little bit because it released on previous gen platforms as well, but they've made big efforts here with Assassin's Creed Shadows visuals. Facial animations up, dynamic lighting up. The game looks sensational at nighttime. I don't know what it is, but I have a thing for good lighting in the nighttime in video games. The scale of the environment seems so much more believable, and the environments are way higher detail. And you know what? We have to give Ubisoft's credit where it's due, because their depictions of locations from the real world are always great. It feels like I'm getting a little history lesson every single time. Also, I think most media, games, TV, film, books, music gets extra points automatically for using this part of Japanese culture. Samurai and Shinobi shit is just that cool. And that's about it really. I'm pleasantly surprised. I can see that more care has been put into this game than some of Ubisoft's other titles, and I'm looking forward to running around as Yasuke and Naoe and see the full potential of Assassin's Creed Shadows. The majority of what I said was about the combat here, but make sure you check out other previews because they're sure to have taken a different route in game to me and have additional footage, and I want you to make an informed decision if you should be excited or not. But if this video made you excited or didn't, let me know. I want to hear it. Let's have a conversation down in the comments. My name is Dorani of 100% Crit. Follow for more gaming content, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.